Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the First Unitarian Society of Milwaukee. I'm Reverend Jennifer Nordstrom. I'm honored to serve you as your senior minister. Our opening words this morning are adapted from the poem Moon Song by Kate Baer. You are not an evergreen unchanged by the pitiless snow. You are not a photo, a brand, or a character written for sex or house or show. You do not have to choose one or the other, a dream or a dreamer, the bird or the birder. You may be a person of commotion and quiet, magic and brain. You can be a parent and a poet, a partner and a lover. You can dance the graves you dug on Tuesday, pulling the bones of yourself that you began to miss. You can be the sun and the moon, the dance, a victory song. Will you please rise in body or spirit for our opening hymn number 12, What Wondrous Love Is This?
Good morning. Come on up. I'm delighted to introduce you to Fiona Higgins, who has joined our First Church staff. Fiona is our new RE and membership assistant. She's currently training with Caitlin, so you might have seen her already, but will be taking over by the end of this month. So please, a big First Church welcome for Fiona.
Good morning, everybody. As is well established, my name is Fiona, and I'm the new RE assistant. Born and raised here in Milwaukee, I've studied both theater and sociology. In my personal life, my friends have described me as just a big nerd, and I think that's the most apt description I can give. It's wonderful to meet all of you, and thank you for having me.
We have another celebration involving our religious education staff this morning. In April, our Reverend Kimberly was granted full fellowship as a Unitarian Universalist minister, marking the end of, wait, hold your applause, marking the end of the extensive credentialing process for ministry. The process entails several years. We're talking years of being evaluated by multiple individuals and teams, and there is a lot of paperwork. Being granted full fellowship means Kimberly has met the UUA's high standards and expectations for ministers. She has fulfilled competencies in a broad range of areas, including worship, pastoral care, spiritual development for all ages, anti-racism, social justice, and leading our faith into the future. Kimberly, you are a leader in our UU movement, and we are proud and grateful to know you and to benefit from your loving ministry to our children, youth, adults, to everyone. Congratulations. And because we are First Church, there will be cake. So please join us at the social hour immediately following the service. Have a piece of cake and congratulate Kimberly personally.
I am just I'm a little teary. Didn't expect that. I am so grateful to everyone here at First Church. You have ordained me, and you have continued to place your trust in me with your children, with your adults, with your own ups and downs of life. And I am so very, very grateful to have landed here. This is, as Dina mentioned, a very long process, and there's way more paperwork than you can imagine. And I have some certain individuals, the members of my ministerial team, that I need to thank. So if you could stand up, those people are, if you're here, Thea Waters, John Vitek, Busy Schultz, Raleigh Hansen, and of course my supervisor, Dina, Reverend Dina. They have been absolutely wonderful to me. They have been my cheerleading squad, they have been the folks who listen to me each month, and they have been doing a lot of paperwork. And for that, I am so grateful. So thank you, thank you.
So one last piece of celebration for Kimberly. Kimberly, come here.
I was done.
We are so delighted with your accomplishment and also grateful for your ministry. And now that you have arrived at this long journey of transformation and belovedness and paperwork, we would like you to enjoy some of your now abundant free time with this gift. Yeah.
It's a very cool card. Oh my goodness, thank you. Thank you. You're all taking us, oh go get me some clay. It's a gift certificate to buy some clay.
Thank you for everything, Kimberly. My dear ones, I'm so sorry. We're going to shift the energy quite a bit right now, so take a little breath for a transition. We do have a candle of life today. I'm so very sorry to share with you the news that Lisa Noble died unexpectedly at home in the late afternoon this past Monday, April 29th, after a long struggle with depression. Lisa was 63 years old, and she has been a member of our congregation since 2003. Lisa and her husband, Dave Mackery, raised their children, Anna and Eric, in our church. Cards and emails to the family are welcome, and they can be sent to Dave. Please refrain from making phone calls at this time. Lisa's memorial service has been rescheduled. It will be held here at First Church on Saturday, June 8th at 11 a.m. with Reverend Dina officiating. A reception with light refreshments will follow in the Leanhouse Common Room, and all are welcome. Those who knew and loved Lisa are welcome to send brief tributes or anecdotes or memories to Reverend Dina by Monday, June 3rd for possible inclusion in a collage of voices at that memorial service. Thus, as is our custom in this congregation, whenever a member is born, is adopted, or dies, we light our candle of life. Today, for Lisa Marie Noble. I invite you into a time of contemplation now, which will be followed by silence, followed by the seated singing of hymn 123, Spirit of Life. May you find presence in your body, using your breath or your feet, your skin, the top of your head. May you come into being here and now. Spirit of life and love, Holy One of our being and of our becoming, that which is sacred within, among, and beyond us, may we each be held in all of our beauty and all of our suffering. May we be wrapped in a larger love that holds us and holds all that is. May we remember, may we know that each of us are beautiful, that we are each part of this gorgeous kaleidoscope of humanity, each different and unique, holding our own shining, glittering mirror of the heart. May we bring that mirror of truth to the whole of being, making more harmony, more connection, and more beauty in the world. May it be so.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to First Unitarian Society of Milwaukee. I'm Liz Irwin Moore, and I'm pleased to serve as worship associate this morning. We welcome people of all genders, sexualities, ages, races, ethnicities, histories, and bodies. We welcome your mind, your heart, and your spirit. We welcome all you are carrying with you today and all your heart longs to set down. We welcome everyone watching online as we live stream this service. Hello out there. We especially welcome guests joining us today. If you're a guest, we invite you to fill out one of the welcome cards you'll find in the pew rack in front of you. Drop it in the offering plate that will come around in a few minutes. And please join us for a social hour following the service across the hall in the Leanhouse Common Room. Some notes regarding accessibility. You can find hearing assist devices and large print hymnals and orders of service at the back of the sanctuary, as well as worship activity bags for children and anyone else who wants one. There's a fragrance-free area in the right front pews. If you're watching online, you can enable YouTube's closed captioning on your viewing device. I have a few announcements this morning. If you have questions about the new First Church Endowment, you are invited to attend one of the 4 Q&A sessions. 2 in-person sessions will be held today in the parlor following each service, and 2 sessions will be held by Zoom on Wednesday and Thursday this week. Join friends and family singers from 10:15 to 10:30 a.m. today and next week in the lower level to rehearse for RE Sunday, where we will be singing "Love is My Religion." And on Sunday, May 19th, we have a special schedule for our RE service and annual meeting. Pay attention here, there will be only one service at 10 a.m. for RE Sunday, followed by a coffee hour potluck at 11. Bring a dish to share, please. And then at noon, we will have the annual meeting. See your weekly announcements for details. Now I invite you to join me in a unison affirmation of our mission, which is printed in your order of service. We gather to nurture the spirit, engage the mind, and inspire action. Each week, we have an opportunity to practice our values through sharing our resources. Our pledges are at the core of our spiritual practice of generosity. In addition, we share half of all the non-pledge cash in our offering plate with a community organization practicing our value of interdependence. Today, we share the plate with World Central Kitchen. May the practice of giving bring us joy. The offering will now be gratefully received as we remain seated and sing hymn number 188, "Come, Come, Whoever You Are." I invite children, youth, and RE volunteers to sing the first verse with us, and then follow Reverend Kimberly to the Leanhouse Common Room, and then downstairs for religious education. If your child needs to check in for RE, please accompany them to the Common Room. I knew from an early age that I wanted children. I drew their pictures. I chose their names. I imagined they would be like me. They'd like to read and travel and go camping. They would be polite and respectful. They would do well in college, in school, and they would go to college. They would be Unitarian Universalists. There were detours in young adulthood. It took me a while to get the hang of relationships. I briefly considered adopting or fostering as a single parent, but the economic realities were daunting. Bob and I got married when I was 33, and a few years later we were foster parents to a toddler named Marie. When she went back to her birth mother, Chris, we developed an ongoing relationship with Chris, Marie, and her little brother, Robert. We took the kids on weekends now and then to give Chris a break. All of them were included in our family's holiday celebrations. We went camping together. Chris had never wanted children. She had a trauma history, was socially isolated, impoverished, and had problems with mental health and addiction. When the kids got old enough to question her choices, things took a turn for the worst. One day when they were 12 and 13, she told them to leave. They walked several miles to our house, and there they stayed. We renewed our foster care license, and a couple years later, we adopted them. For purposes of today's service, I'm going to focus on Robert, who was definitely not like me or like the kids I had dreamed of when I was younger. This had been clear from early in his life. I had always been able to motivate and connect with little kids through games, humor, and praise, like, "What color is this? Is it blue? No, Liz is being silly. Of course it's not blue. It's red. You knew that." Marie would squeal with delight. But Robert would look at me in a combination of boredom and wonderment. Why exactly was I asking such dumb questions? He was motivated mostly by his own curiosity, not by adult approval. He was very active. I used to say he had springs in his butt. He did not love school or reading. He did love building things with Legos, later with scrap lumber. He steered a motorboat quite capably at age 7 and could hardly wait to learn to drive. Robert and Marie came to us streetwise and angry. We had been sort of like grandparents or an aunt and uncle, fun people to visit. But the moment we were their foster parents, things switched. It must have been disorienting for them. It sure was for us. The second night after they arrived, they joined the circle supper we were hosting and behaved appropriately. After Bob and I went to bed, they tried to take our car to Walgreens. Remember, 12 and 13. It didn't go well. They crashed the car into a tree in our driveway. We awakened to the police. It was the first of many encounters with the Shorewood police over the next several years. Eventually, Robert found his way. He did not go to college, but trained as an aviation mechanic. This work engages his curiosity, his independent spirit, his need for physical activity, and his willingness to call things out and not make nice when there's a problem. You definitely do not want an aircraft mechanic to make nice when there's a problem with your plane. He's married to a wonderful woman and is a loving dad to his 10-month-old son. We gave him stability, consistency, unconditional love. But this is not just a story about how love led to change in a young person. Robert made decisions that drew on his own strengths. And loving him changed me for the better, too. I'm more hopeful having witnessed his growth. I learned to take an interest in things I'd never cared about. Trucks when he was little, the aviation industry now. And he taught me that college is not a necessary path for everyone. I've learned to have a great respect for people in the trades who, yes, work with their hands, but also with their brains, which are every bit as valuable as mine, just wired differently. Our babies are never just like us. All parents learn this. Even your mini-me will startle you at times. This son, clearly not my mini-me, has taught me that however unlikely it looks, we can find common ground if we commit to searching for it. And the search can lead both of us to greater strength, wisdom, and hope.
Children singing, humming low as the garden river flows, while the August light becomes a golden evening. And I will lead you down that road if you lose your way, born to be a protector. Someday you're gonna shine on your own. I will be a projector. An apricot picked right off the given tree. I gave water to the soil, now it feeds me. And there you are, shaded underneath it all. I feel proud of who I am because you need. Down that road if you lose your way, born to be a protector. Even though I know someday you're gonna shine on your own, I will be a projector. And even though I know someday you're gonna shine on your own, I will be a projector, projector, projector. And I first saw your face in your father's gaze. There's a long line of hands carrying your name, lifting you up so you will be raised. Even though I know someday you're gonna shine on your own, I will be a projector. Hey, hey, hey. Even though I know someday you're gonna shine on your own, protector, born to be a protector.
Language is a malleable, living thing. Its purpose is to communicate, and language changes as we human beings change. Just read Shakespeare to get a sense of how much the English language has changed in the last 500 years. When language does change, however, there's often resistance to that. In our culture, language and language change often gets cast with a moral hue. Some language gets deemed right or proper, while other language is characterized as less than. Perhaps it's a less than of intellect or education, or maybe it's more explicitly a less than of age or class or race or gender. I have utter confidence that after this sermon, I will receive many different arguments about which kind of language is the correct kind. And yet, the purpose of language is to communicate. Because we human beings keep learning and growing, we keep changing as a society, words are added to the dictionary regularly. In 2023, Riz, which means charisma or style or charm, was added to the dictionary and was chosen as Oxford Dictionary's Word of the Year. Meanings of current words also change. For example, and much to the chagrin of some, the word literally, which has long meant exactly, recently had a new meaning added to its dictionary definition based on how the word literally is being used in language today. So, if you look up the dictionary definition of literally in Merriam-Webster's words, it is, quote, a word that can be used both literally and figuratively. I share this playfully, not dismissively. Our American culture easily dismisses linguistic innovation from youth, and particularly from young women and femmes, whether that was in the 1990s, mocking a Valley Girl accent or using like as a filler, or today, using literally as a point of emphasis. But linguists will tell you that if you want to find the cutting edge of linguistic change, listen to young women and femmes when they talk. University of Pennsylvania linguist William Labov has argued that women drive 90% of linguistic change. The English Language Institute at the University of Chicago quotes Gretchen McCullough, a linguist and the author of Because Internet, Understanding the New Rules of Language, who writes, quote, while the pattern is well established, we still don't know why young women reliably lead linguistic innovation. Maybe it's nature, or maybe it's nurture, but we do know that young women tend to be more socially aware, more empathetic, more concerned about how their peers perceive them. This may translate into a greater facility for linguistic disruption. Women also tend to have larger social networks, which means they're more likely to be exposed to a greater diversity of language innovation. That article goes on to notice that while women, and particularly young women and femmes, have long been at the front of linguistic innovation, they have also been particularly shamed and punished for that innovation. Of course, it is not only young women that are in a socially less powerful group status and are punished or shamed for linguistic difference. You can also see dismissiveness and punishment for African American vernacular and for various accents that are viewed as markers of ethnicity or race or class. But linguistic difference and linguistic innovation as a result of difference are both normal processes of human beings. It's part of being human and communicating with one another across cultural differences. The reality is, words are going to change. We can be happy about it or we can hate it, but it's going to happen. We can be part of it, we can be surfing the very front of that change, or we can be at the edges of it, putting up guardrails and trying to contain it. But whatever we are in the mix, language is going to keep changing because human beings are going to keep learning and interacting with one another and influencing each other. Shakespeare made up an estimated 1,700 new words. He was probably seen as a language cad in his day, but we are looking backwards, so we see him as a language czar. He was actually an innovator and or a close follower of those who were innovating language around him at his time. To be human is to be part of an ever-flowing river of change. It is the nature of life. Enjoy it, hate it. It is one of life's truths. So a long time ago, Unitarian Universalism made a commitment to keep moving with that flowing river, with unfolding time, and to let our understanding of the world and our faith unfold with our knowledge about how things work. The river of Unitarian Universalism is also a living river. That's why we call our tradition a living tradition. It's part of our commitment to keep up with the times and keep learning as a community together. Thus, we do not have a creed, which is a belief statement. Instead, our Unitarian Universalist values and principles are written as a covenant, a living agreement that we share about how we want to be together. So that's just like our first church covenant, where we say, love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. We covenant to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. In our national Unitarian Universalist covenant, our congregations commit to affirm our UU values and to keep our covenant alive by continuing to return to it again and again and update it with the truth and the knowledge of today. So last year, in February, Reverend Kimberly and I shared with you how many times over the last 200 years, we Unitarian Universalists have come together to talk and disagree and compromise and make meaning together in our covenant. Asking one another, why do we exist as a faith, as a community? What do we value most? What is sacred to us? Over time, our denomination has come together to do that work of covenanting about once a generation. And that pattern was regular enough that we made a formal commitment. We're going to come together and re-covenant every 15 years. But it's been 30 years since the last time we did a recovenanting process as UUs, so we're a little late. But we've learned a lot in the last 30 years, and we're in a process now as a national faith, a conversation about covenant. Who are we? What matters most to us? And how do we want to be together in the world? About 10 years ago, a group of Unitarian Universalists of color said, hey, you know what, we should update our covenant to include anti-racism and anti-oppression in our UU values. So they started to work on organizing a campaign to add an 8th principle about anti-racism and anti-oppression to our UU values. And then another group of Unitarian Universalists wanted to also add language that would include all beings in our covenant of respect for life. And then there were some other folks who had some more ideas about what we might covenant to be together and how we want to be in community. So to help us get to language, words that we might say together of a covenant, over the last few years, leaders at our national denominational level have been holding conversations with Unitarian Universalists like you, asking these questions again and again. Who are we? Why do we come together as a people? How do we want to be with one another? And what matters most to us? We held some of those conversations here at First Church last year, and we asked you all those questions. So if you're online right now, why don't you type in the chat, what do you value most? But here, folks in the room, shout it out. What matters most to you as a UU? Community. Variety, justice, acceptance, love, open-mindedness, freedom, diversity, listening. We have a lot of things that we hold sacred with one another. And each person in this room is bringing a beautiful piece of the truth into a shared kaleidoscope that makes the picture of our faith. Over the last few years, our leaders have listened to folks shouting out from the pews. What matters most? What is most valuable? What brings us together as a people? And the biggest news to come out of this process is not news at all, in my opinion. It's the thing that I've heard the most consistently over the last several decades in Unitarian Universalist spaces. It's the thing that brings us together and holds us here, is love. That love is at the center of what we do. So the new language that our national leaders have put forth says the purpose of the Unitarian Universalist Association is to actively engage its members in the transformation of the world through liberating love. It says love is the power that holds us together, and it is at the center of our shared values. This conversation we've been having, this covenanting we've been doing, this practice of being in relationship with one another and having conversations about what matters to us most has resulted in some changes to how we name and explain our Unitarian Universalist values. The words, the exact language of the new proposed covenant, they are different than the words of the covenant of UU principles that was written 30 years ago. And the seeds of those UU principles are still inside the new covenant words. The one from the old principles that talks about honoring the interdependent web of all existence, that language is first now. So we start with the web. And the one that talks about how every person has inherent worth and dignity now adds the necessity of everyone being able to flourish in their inherent worthiness, and a commitment, a shared covenant that we will work together to make that flourishing possible. Our national UU community is in the process of making this covenant together right now. So this coming June, so in a month and a half at our national UU assembly, which is all virtual this year, so very accessible, right in your own home, we get to vote on the new language. If you want to be part of that, if you want to be part of that historic moment in Unitarian Universalism, you can talk to me or, of course, Bruce Wiggins about attending as a First Church delegate. All year this year, in worship and in our theme circles, we have followed the rhythm of the proposed values in our monthly themes. So in January, our theme was love, which is at the center of this new language. In November, we focused on generosity. In February, we focused on justice and equity. In March, transformation. In April, interdependence. And now, in May, what we're focusing on is pluralism. Pluralism. Whew, that's a fancy word. Pluralism is what happens when multiple different kinds of people, different identities, different groups, different ideas come together in community and peacefully coexist with one another. In society, that means that a pluralist society can have different backgrounds and classes and races and still have people be able to hold on to their own identity and tradition while also being together in community, integrated and interdependent. According to Richard J. Ellis in the International Encyclopedia of Social and Behavioral Sciences, quote, "The term pluralism was first introduced into political science in the early 20th century to vindicate the rights of associations that were challenging the modern doctrine of unlimited unitary state sovereignty." So the beginning of this idea of pluralism was about different groups challenging the idea that the nation state was wholly unified and totally in power, that the nation state meant everyone was the same and it decided what to do. Around the same time that pluralism was coming into political science, philosopher Sterling Lamprecht developed an ethical doctrine he called pluralism, and Mahatma Gandhi and Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Nelson Mandela started using pluralism principles in their organizing work. So over the course of the last 100 years, the value of pluralism has shifted our vision, shifted our understanding of the United States, of the society that we live in, from one of a melting pot, where people from all different backgrounds and identities have their identities melted down into one single thing that all gets mixed together, and now we're a mushy soup, into more of like a salad bowl, where we're still together in a bowl, but we all get to retain our own identity. You get to be a tomato. You can hold on to your tomato-ness or your rutabaga-ness. You're still in the salad. You're still integrated, but you don't have to mush yourself into a paste or melt yourself into a puddle in order to belong. Pluralism is not relativism. Pluralism is not relativism. This is one place in Unitarian Universalism where we sometimes get a little confused. In relativism, people are just different, and therefore they have different ideas about right and wrong, and it's all relative and whatever. That's not what pluralism is. According to the Center for International Forestry Research's book, Though All Things Differ, Pluralism as a Basis for Cooperation in the Forests, pluralism means that people are different and that difference is beautiful, but collectively, as a community, as a society, as a faith tradition, we still know what is right by asking the question, does this value, this action, this behavior harm? Or does it lead to the opportunity for everyone in the community to thrive? In pluralism, all the identities get to coexist, but there's still a right and a wrong. By answering the question, does this value, this action, this idea, this behavior lead to harm? Or does it lead to a situation of mutual thriving for the whole and for all of its parts? So remember that question, what is sacred? What is sacred? Pluralism says that both the individual, your shining, beautiful truth, that mirror of your heart that's part of the kaleidoscope, and the whole, the collective, the community, the way we are with one another, they are both sacred and they coexist together in healthy ways. Our values, they shift, they change, they evolve, they grow as we learn and grow. As human beings in community, we can keep checking our growth, our new ideas, our hopes and dreams against this larger question. Does this lead to the beauty and harmony and mutual thriving of all the individuals and the whole? Language is simply about communication. However you speak, however you find yourself articulating what matters to you, what is sacred to you, what your truth is, with your particular cadence and rhythm and accent and filler words, whatever you like. If you're able to share your truth effectively, then you're doing it right. Because you do hold a piece of the truth. You hold a beautiful shining mirror of the heart that reflects the world, and you're bringing that beautiful shining piece into the kaleidoscope, into the larger, true, refracting, moving, changing picture. So as we journey together in this ever-changing river of life, it matters less what perfect words we use than the deeper meaning of what we're trying to communicate. Right now, our faith is trying to communicate together as best we can what we hold sacred. Love, which is at the center of everything that we do, and also justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, generosity. People are really different, and we disagree sometimes. Some will disagree about what language we should use and how and whether change is good or bad, exciting or heartbreaking. But what we're here to do is hold people in love through all of that, to covenant together about how we want to be with one another. And in pluralism, we hold the disagreement, we hold the difference with everyone's inherent worth and what is good for the whole. So we work. That's what covenant is about. It's about working to bring each and every one of your brilliant little pieces of truth into a mutual, thriving whole. Love is at the center of what we do, and it's even at the center of covenanting. So I welcome all of your responses in love, in disagreement, in beauty, as we journey through the unfolding, changing river of time. May it be so. dear ones, each one of you is carrying a piece of the truth, and your offering is a gift to the whole. May it be held in love. Will you rise in either body or spirit for our closing recessional hymn, number 131, Love Will Guide Us.